Number one, you're hammered the entire time.
They're just feeding you alcohol?
They feed you alcohol the entire time. It's weird, you know, it's a lot less glamorous than people think it is. Like, the house sucks.
Really?
It's 8 guys in a room on bunk beds, and we're all like pretty like large human beings.
Yeah.
So you've got 8 big sweaty dudes in a place that like doesn't serve. It just smells like foot and fart like the entire time inside that room. And you're like, you can only go because the cameras are only set up in like so many areas. So you can really only go in like a couple rooms of the house. And there's no TV, there's no phone, there's no access to any outside information whatsoever. So you're just locked into a bubble, and all they do is force you to talk about things that you generally don't talk about.
Okay.
Like all the awkward interactions or guys having these like heart-to-hearts, it's producers that'll sit you down and be like, Iggy, what do you think about this thing? Oh, and ask Mark what he thinks about this thing, and then talk about the thing that we want you to talk about.
So it's, in a sense, scripted.
It is as close to, it's a produced show. I'll put it that way. Like, they don't tell you what to say, but they will sit there and listen to you talk until they get whatever they need to build the narrative around the show. Everybody, and this is what I've been told, and I believe it to be true. Everyone, but like the top 2 people are producer edits. So the main guy or girl picks their favorite 2 people, and that's like pretty much it. Everyone else fills a specific role that the producers want from them on the show. And the longer you play that role, the better you play that role for them, the longer you stick around. So when you see people doing shit and you're like, I would never in a million years ever do that or say that. Number one, you're hammered the entire time.
They're just feeding you alcohol?
They feed you alcohol the entire time. None of us are actors, right? Maybe guys are like models or whatever, but having a camera in our faces is a pretty uncommon experience. You're awkward. You're like,
right.
You need to like loosen up a little bit. They know that, so they feed you drinks all day, every day. They put you in really stressful positions. You only sleep a couple hours a night. You're filming until maybe like 2, 3 in the morning, and then you're up right away, like to crack of dawn, to film the stuff they didn't get from the previous night. So you're super hungover. You're irritable. You're in a house full of like super aggro guys. You don't want to get cut. You're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. You can't work out. So there's no like stress relief. It's just this like tension that builds in the house every single day.
And whose season were you on?
Rachel Lindsay. She was the first African-American bachelor.
Okay, let's talk about something that nobody really wants to admit, but everybody keeps watching anyway. Because if you've ever watched The Bachelorette, then you already know this. The show isn't just about love, it's about chaos. And more specifically, it's about villains. Every single season, without fail, there's always that one guy who shifts the entire energy of the house. The one who doesn't quite fit, the one who moves differently, the one who makes you pause and say, yeah, something about him is off. And what's interesting is these villains aren't all the same. Some are obvious, some are calculated, and some you don't even see coming until it's too late.
I mean, you guys are in my way. Just being completely real. Is something funny over there, Tyler?
Yeah. The worst thing about all this is like we have a villain, and usually the villain's like some big, you know, tall. We got a 5'8" villain.
Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
To me right now,
Let's start with Jed Wyatt from season 15 with Hannah Brown. Now, this one is uncomfortable because he didn't come in loud, he wasn't aggressive, he didn't start fights in the house. In fact, he did the opposite. He played the role perfectly. He connected emotionally, said the right things, and ended up winning the entire show. But here's where everything flipped. While he was building a relationship on screen, he allegedly had a girlfriend back home and had told her the show was more about boosting his music career than actually finding love. And once that truth came out, the engagement collapsed almost instantly. What looked like a fairy tale ending turned into one of the biggest betrayals in the show's history. And that's what makes him dangerous. Not because he was loud, but because he was convincing. Now compare that to Chad Johnson from season 12 with JoJo Fletcher. Completely different energy. Chad didn't hide anything. He walked into the house like chaos was the plan. He was aggressive, confrontational, and constantly clashing with the other contestants. There was no slow reveal with him. You knew exactly who he was from day one. And while viewers were turned off by his behavior, he became one of the most memorable villains in franchise history. Because here's the truth. There's a difference between someone who accidentally becomes the villain and someone who understands the role and leans into it. Chad knew exactly what he was doing. Then you have Luke Parker, also from season 15 with Hannah Brown, and this is where things get a little more complicated. Luke wasn't just disliked, he was rejected by almost everyone in the house. Other contestants couldn't stand him, fans were frustrated watching him, and yet somehow he kept making it further. That's when the real tension started. People began asking what is she seeing that we're not? Because Luke wasn't loud chaos like Chad. He was controlled, confident, and very calculated in how he presented himself. But underneath that was arrogance, judgment, and behavior that felt manipulative. He held onto his image even when it was clearly falling apart. And that's a different kind of villain, the one who believes their own narrative no matter what reality is showing. Now go back to Justin Rago from season 6 with Ali Fedotowsky, because this might be one of the most telling moments in the show's history. When rumors surfaced that he had a girlfriend back home, Ali tried to confront him, and instead of owning it, instead of explaining, he literally ran away from the conversation, and that moment says everything. Because villains aren't always the loudest person in the room. Sometimes they're the ones who avoid accountability the fastest. That reaction alone turned him into one of the most unforgettable villains, not because of what he said, but because of what he refused to face. Then there's Bentley Williams from season 7 with Ashley Hebert. And now this one is different because he didn't even try to hide his intentions. He openly made disrespectful comments about Ashley, questioned her as the lead, and still stayed on the show long enough to cause damage. And this is where you have to ask the real question. Why do contestants like this stay? Why aren't they removed immediately? And the answer is simple, because the show needs them. Every season needs tension, conflict, and someone that people are talking about. And villains create that, even when it gets uncomfortable. And so, looking at more recent seasons, you can see how the idea of a villain has evolved. Take Devin Strader from season 21 with Jen Tran. At first, he didn't come off as the villain at all. He blended in, said the right things, and played the role well. But by the end, everything changed. His behavior shifted once the cameras weren't the focus anymore. He became distant, ended things quickly, and the way he handled the relationship left people questioning who he really was the entire time. And that's the new kind of villain, the one who hides in plain sight, the one who understands perception and uses it to their advantage until the truth eventually comes out. And that's really what this all comes down to. Villains on The Bachelorette aren't just random personalities, they're patterns. Some come on the show for love, some come for exposure, and some come knowing exactly how to play the game. Over time, especially with social media involved, the line between those intentions has become harder to see, because now attention is currency. Being talked about, even negatively, can still benefit someone long term. And that changes how people show up on the show. But here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Why do we keep watching? Why do we sit through the drama, the arguments, the obvious red flags, and still tune in every week? It's because villains make the story feel real. They break the illusion. They expose the cracks in the system, and whether we admit it or not, we're drawn to that. Not because we support it, but because it reveals something deeper about how people move when they're under pressure. And here's the part nobody really wants to say out loud. Not every villain is the worst person. Some of them are just the most honest version of themselves in a situation where everyone else is performing. Now, don't get it twisted. Some of these guys absolutely earn that label. Lying, manipulating, disrespecting, avoiding accountability, that's real. But others, they just didn't fit the image the show wanted to present. And in a show built on perception, that's enough to turn you into the villain. So yeah, Keith, you can sit there and say these guys ruined their seasons. You can say they were toxic, messy, or completely out of line. But if we're being real for a second, they're also the reason you kept watching. And that's the reality check nobody wants to admit.